Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Brother Khalid here. I'm continuing with the Wednesday revert lessons. We last week touched on, and the week before touched on Tawheed. Last week was the first of three parts of Tawheed, which was Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the oneness of Allah. This week is Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, which is the unity and oneness of the names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. This has five main aspects. Like, the first thing that we really need to understand is that Allah Azza wa Jal has told us about His names and attributes. So has the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we cannot deviate from whatever has been revealed by these two sources. Allah in the Quran, I'll give you an example. He gets angry with the disbelievers and the hypocrites, and He says in 48:6 that He may punish the hypocrites, men and women, and the pagans, men and women, who have an evil opinion of Allah. A circle of evil is around them. Allah is angry with them, curses them, and has prepared for them an evil end. Now we have here that He gives Himself an attribute of anger. Now, a lot of Muslims will say that the anger is His punishment, but He says here that Allah is angry with them and has prepared for them an evil end. Two separate things. We cannot a lot of Muslims don't want to attribute anger to Him because it is a human emotion. But Allah Azza wa Jal has stated also in the Quran that we cannot know what His anger is like, because Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in Quran 42:11 that there is nothing like Him. What becomes really interesting with this one statement, when there is nothing like Him, the opponents of theism or the opponents of Islam can use this statement to say that God does not exist at all. Astaghfirullah. Because Allah says that man exists, and because there's nothing like Allah, therefore Allah cannot exist. Allah protect us from this kind of thought. But it is logical, it is rational, it is how they've come to reject the haqq. May Allah Azza wa Jal bring them and guide them to Islam. However, even though the names are limited to our words, they're very similar. What it is free from is human deficiency. If He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, is angry, it is a perfect anger from a perfect God, and can never be similar to what it is that we know. He uses the word angry, we use the word angry. But in order to comprehend it, it's just not something that is inside our scope of knowledge. I apologize for the noise, the guys next door are fixing up a car. Anyway, number 2 is referring to Allah as He referred to Himself without giving Him any new names or attributes. This basically means that we cannot add anything to the list of names. We have 99 names and attributes. We cannot put 100, we cannot put 105, we cannot put 120. 99 names of Allah that He has revealed. Allah Azza wa Jal gives Himself, or the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used as, those are the only names that we can use, because we as mortal and fallible mankind, we have no right or no knowledge to define the greatness of Allah Azza wa Jal. The only person that can really define it is the Rasul, because he was told. He is a prophet and a messenger, and Allah Azza wa Jal Himself. Because if we were to do that, we would start saying all kinds of crazy things and making false claims about God, even though we think it may be a good attribute. Is absolutely haram. Okay? Move on to number 3. Allah must be referred to without giving Him attributes of His creation. Now, we're going to expand further into this topic. We can see from Christians, Jews, Hindus, the scriptures of the various religions, that their gods, or in the case of Christians and Jews, Allah Himself is given human attributes like hunger and tiredness. Christians and Jews say that on the 7th day He rested. Right? We find this is a direct contradiction to what the glorious Quran tells us, and Allah Azza wa Jal says that neither tiredness or sleep will overcome Him. You will find this in 255. Yeah, the Quran in 42:11 states that there is nothing like Him, and He is the hearer and seer of all. Now, while sight and hearing for humans mean eyes and ears, but for Allah It's a type of perfection we will never understand and we'll never need ears and eyes, and is free of all human apparatus. We have to stick very strictly to what Allah Azza wa Jal has revealed to His prophets, because if man was left to his limited devices, just now our limited minds, to describe the glory of Allah Azza wa Jal, it would have absolute pandemonium. People would just be all over the place. We find that now for people who have rejected the haqq, and now zealous quest to know God, I believe, is how our forefathers became mushrikeen. And many of the gods, or those that they thought of as gods, be it in animal form, a human form, the form of a tree, the form of a rock, they start to have attributes that were unbecoming to God's glory. And, that way we can easily be pulled astray if we are left to define God ourselves, rather than allow Allah Azza wa Jal, through His Rasul, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Rasuls before Him, alayhi salam, and the glorious Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal will tell us Himself, if we do not follow this pattern, we will be pulled astray. Number 4, man must never be given the attributes of God. In Hebrews, I think it's Hebrews 5 and Hebrews 7, look it up, correct me if I'm wrong. Paul gives Melchizedek, you'll find him in Genesis, the attributes of having no beginning and no end. He gives the same attributes to Jesus, who they say is God. Astaghfirullah. A majority of the Shiites, they give the same attributes to their imams, I think with the exception of one. Hindus and Buddhists, they give them to actual living men. They have living gods that walk around. But as a Muslim, if anyone or anything claims godhood, we need to go to Surah Ikhlas. Kul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, as the absolute test of godhood. We will see that all but Allah Azza wa Jal will fall short. They will fall short of how Allah Azza wa Jal describes Himself perfectly in Surah Ikhlas. Number 5 is Allah's name in the definite form cannot be given to His creation. Like, Al-Malik. There will never ever be a Abdul Al-Malik. There should never ever be Abdul Al-Malik. Everything, if you are going to use a name of Allah Azza wa Jal, you need to put Abd. This is how He refers to us, Ya Abdi. Right? It means the slave of, or the servant of. My name is Khalid Amran Abdullah. For example, Abdullah means the slave of Allah. There's an Abd before it. There are some that can be used in indefinite form, but only those that Allah Azza wa Jal uses on His prophets, like Rahim. Yes? Okay. But Ar-Rahim can only be used, for example, if prefixed with Abd, turning it into Abdur Rahim. We cannot use names like Abdur Rasul, slave of the Prophet, because that is attributing our obedience to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. And it was even forbidden by the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that the Sahaba call their slaves Abdi, my slave, or Amati, my slave girl. An interesting note to make is that not all scholars agree that the attributes and names given to us are authentic. They say that some of the hadith are inauthentic. But that is not the way with most scholars. And when they disagree, as normal Muslims and not non-ulama Muslims, we just have to say Allahu Alam and do our best and aim for Jannah. But that's the 5 aspects of it. That is the second category of Tawheed. Jazakallahu khairan for joining me. And next week, inshallah, we will conclude with the third and final category of Tawheed, which is Tawheed al-Ibadah. So, inshallah, I hope to see you all next week for revert lessons with Brother Khalid. Assalamu alaikum.